Hello everybody, welcome along. My name is Benjamin Bloom. This is the Benjamin Bloom Football Channel. Please leave your bias at the door and join me for a substantially delayed transfer update episode number 2. We always do these in either the July-August transfer window or the mid-season January transfer window. And we wait for the deals to come in and have a little chit-chat and a think about the signings and how good a move this is for the player, for the buying club, for the selling club, etc. Obviously, I've been up to my neck in the Euros, so it's been about, I guess it must have been about 10 days, 2 weeks since we've done one of these. So some of the deals are slightly dated, but it's nice to have them all in one place, and certainly as a series, we deal with every deal. As ever, in these transfer update videos, it's completed deals only. We won't do rumours. We need to see the player holding the shirt. And what that doesn't mean, though, is I won't address any rumours anywhere else on the channel ever in my life. Just in these transfer update videos is where we need to see the player holding the shirt. Any transfer fees you'll hear will be from transfer marked. Shall I just say it? Don't bother whining about transfer fees unless you've got the documents from the club. No one is going to imagine that you know the number. So, look, it's all enshrined in secrecy these days with undisclosed fees and whatnot, and even the way deals are structured. You never know what's actually gone from one bank account to the other. So we try not to get too bogged down in transfer fees, because let's be honest, we don't know, and I'm never going to brag and pretend that I do on this channel. Right, shall we get into the deals? And we'll start with Swansea City bringing in Kyle Joseph. Looks like a bit of a project. 19-year-old from Wigan. Academy Player of the Season. And Wigan just seem to, over the past few years, obviously with the administration, but in general terms anyway, those good players from those academies have been poached and taken elsewhere, and in goes Kyle Joseph to Swansea. Swansea lacked a central striker, and far be it what anyone suggests, Jamal Lowe, another Wigan player, and Andre Ayew, not strikers, they're wingers that were converted into strikers. So maybe Kyle Joseph fills a gap. Swansea management does tend to be required to pull rabbits out of hats, we've said for a while, and certainly a youngster on a free from Wigan, if they can produce championship output, would be another rabbit out of a hat as we see what happens at Swansea in this close season, particularly with Steve Cooper being linked with job after job after job. Let's move on to the next one. Devante Coyle. Welcome back, Devante Coyle. Goes back into Barnsley. Quick caveat here, it's 11:45 on Monday, and the Valérien Ismaël rumours to West Brom are ramping up big style. So perhaps that deal may be done soon. It hasn't been done as I sit here, so that's why I'm not going to mention it when we talk about Devante Coyle. 26 years old. You can see he's been at Barnsley before in the first half of the 14-15 campaign, and he's been off to Bradford and Fleetwood, Wigan and Doncaster, Motherwell last season. Is he finding his way up? Look, Barnsley's recruitment's been tremendous over the last 2 or 3 years, probably go back even longer than that. So who am I to question anything? You assume someone goes into Barnsley, they'll have been well scouted and they'll be well fitting. In terms of, well, again, we talk about Valérien Ismaël. Will he stay or will he go? What they've been built on, whoever is managing them when we get to August the 7th, has been big, powerful strikers, good at pressing. Carlton Morris, Corley Woodrow in there, Dominic Freeser coming from wide, Victor Adebayo, Connor Chaplin with good feet. They're well stocked in those areas, and they know what they want under the current manager if he's still there, but we'll see what goes on. Let me know what you think. Devante Coyle back to Barnsley. Now, Andre Dazelle to QPR. I've popped in here because someone will say, oh, you didn't mention Andre Dazelle. I've done a separate video. I was asked about Andre Dazelle, especially being an Ipswich fan, and I could talk for ages and ages on him. And I did. So there's a separate video on Andre Dazelle. We can mention a transfer fee here because we think there was a £1 million buyout clause or whatever you call it in Dazelle's contract. But look, more of that over there. And we already covered Austin and Devison Field in the previous video. So that'll be that for QPR. And you can find the other bits elsewhere on the channel. Right, Luton have been very, very busy. First one to talk about, Cameron Jerome, who is very well known to us, 34 years old, somewhat of a championship stalwart. He will bring you lots and lots of experience. Obviously, he was at MK Dons, so he's not moving very fast. So I think this goes into the no-brainer category. Obviously, James Collins was a big, powerful striker who's gone off to one of Cameron Jerome's old clubs, Cardiff. And this feels like a little bit of a get a knowledgeable, experienced guy in who probably isn't going to start a hell of a lot of games, but will be really good around the squad, will be really good working with Victor, not Victor, who was the guy they signed from Walsall? Elijah Adebayo. Sorry, I was just talking about Victor Adebayo. So Elijah Adebayo. So I think it's a good sort of squad addition. And again, we can say the same things we said about Barnsley. Luton have recruited very nicely and very specifically over the last few years. So Jerome, assumingly it's a good deal. Salary-wise, that seems to be a bit of a no-brainer in there as a squad option. Henry Lansbury's a bit more of an interesting one. I think he's still only 30. Seems to have been around forever, doesn't he? Lansbury, so is it a gamble? Isn't it a gamble? We won't know. It will depend what sort of deal has been signed. Basically, the story with Lansbury is he was really good at Nottingham Forest, wasn't he? And then it was that window where Aston Villa, they'd swapped from Roberto Di Matteo to Steve Bruce. And they literally signed anybody who was doing well in the Championship. Scott Hogan, Henry Lansbury, James Bree, Conor Hurahan. There was a whole load of them went in for a huge amount of money. And to be fair, other than Conor Hurahan, didn't really do a hell of a lot for Villa. It was only Dean Smith and Jack Grealish and then some loans, Abraham Mings, Tuan Zebe, etc. that made the difference to next season. Lansbury then, out in the cold on a big wage at Villa, hasn't played a lot of football, went on loan to Bristol City. So I always assume Luton have done a sensible deal here, and it must be ratcheted against output and in terms of appearances. If he gets back to Nottingham Forest levels, very, very useful Championship sort of playmaking central midfielder, but they've got to work towards that, haven't they? And Bristol City, so we'll see how Henry Lansbury does. It's an interesting one. It could be, and hopefully they've done the deal in such a way where it's not really that much of a gamble, and if he doesn't produce, they don't pay, and everyone walks off into the sunset. But if he does produce, could be a good deal. We'll keep an eye on that one. And also, probably the most viable one you think in terms of will definitely play a bit. Alan Campbell joins from Motherwell. Been heavily linked with Millwall towards the end of last season, but players are really choosing to go down to Luton now, aren't they? After that 12th place finish, 22 years old. He's been at Motherwell the whole time. 16 goals there. Midfield player, you would assume, knowing Nathan Jones and knowing Luton. I don't know the player too much. I'm not very familiar with Scottish football at all, even though we've had two Motherwell players in this transfer update. But you would assume he's ready to go, good age. I don't think we've got anything about a fee on there. Season ticket contributions help bring Scotland under 21 midfielder to the Kenny. Just says permanent transfer. So you'd assume there's a fee gone in there. And I suppose what you do like about what Luton are doing here is it's all nice and early. And Nathan Jones will work with these guys. They are either, well, look at the three of these, Jerome and Campbell and Lansbury. They're players with something to prove or just an experienced head in Cameron Jerome. So let's see. And Luton have done well with whatever they've done the past couple of seasons, especially last season, finishing in the middle of the table. The bar is high now. at Luton. Let's see if they can maintain with these new players. It does mention there Onyedinma and Burke already arrived. So there's 5 in at Luton already. We already talked about Onyedinma and Burke on episode 1. We also talked about a few Huddersfield signings. It does look like there's a few clubs, and I'm talking Huddersfield, Luton. We can talk about Blackpool in a minute as well. Stocking up early, getting things done, and you'd assume that'll be the end of that. Josh Ruffles comes in, and they're signing another fullback here from a playoff team in League One. They already signed Ollie Turton, didn't they? Who was at Blackpool, wasn't he? This is Josh Ruffles from Oxford. Free agent, played plenty of games. They seem well stocked at fullback now, don't they? With Pippa and Toffolo, and now another 2 in there in Turton and Ruffles. It's well, how can you describe it? It's not where they have been shopping. Huddersfield have been up in the Premier League, obviously, and signing players from France for lots of money in European market. It's now very much League One, pick up, and I'm trying to think who the others that had already arrived in. Jordan Rhodes, Turton, Ruffles. I think there's one more as well who I'm missing out. Someone will tell me in the chat as well. But they're stocking up. Will it push them up the table? We will find out. Josh Ruffles in to Huddersfield. And today, look, 1 hour ago, in fact, on the Preston website, Sepp Vandenberg, 19 years old, is going to go back to Preston on loan from Liverpool. Ben Davies was sold from Preston to Liverpool in January. Vandenberg, you assume, was, not necessarily a make-weight, but a sweetener of that deal. So Vandenberg is going to do another season. 19 years old. It's weird with these Premier League loanees, isn't it? Because often, not always, but often, if they're not sniffing around the first team by 18, 19, you sometimes wonder, don't you, what's going to be going on in the future? Are they going to be in that Matthew Pennington, Cameron Carter-Vickers purgatory of just back and forward on a loan every season? Then ultimately, I think Pennington went to 26 and finally joined Shrewsbury after loan after loan after loan. So you'd look at someone like Sepp Vandenberg, and especially when other youngsters were thrown in with the Liverpool injury crisis. What I'm saying is there's probably a chance that Preston can get him long term, but it's another season-long loan, and we'll see how Vandenberg does. And I'll move on to the next one because it's Liam Lindsay, who may well be a central defensive colleague. I don't know how often those two will be partnered together. Lindsay, you think if Patrick Bauer can return, would go in. I like this one. So Lindsay, 25 years old, permanent, a 2-year deal he signed, an undisclosed fee. And remember, Lindsay went from Barnsley to Stoke. And what Preston have done well here is they're shopping in a market where Stoke, we think, are probably up to their necks in trouble for FFP, and they're going to want to shift some players out. So it's probably an asset they've been able to buy at a decent price at a decent age from a club that really wants to cut some costs. So I would suspect, and we are speculating again, that undisclosed fee may have been advantageous to Preston. We will see. Lindsay down the pecking order at Stoke pretty much, with players like Harry Souter, Danny Bart, James Chester, all ahead of him there. And I think it's probably quite a good fit for Preston. And we'll probably never find out, given undisclosed transfer fees, what the nature of those. But I suspect that could turn out to be a good deal, and he will probably play a lot of football for Preston, I would have thought. So 2 defenders in for North End. Right, on to Hull, where we've got a couple here. Randell Williams in from Exeter. A free agent, 24 years old. Got to the League 2 playoff final for Exeter. Good age, good calibre. Again, a lot of clubs, and it's not just COVID, but I think the changing landscape of money in football. Free transfers and lower divisions, which you like to see. See how some of these guys go on. Obviously, lots of people will mention Exeter and Ollie Watkins, and, you know, a player going up from there and doing very well. Obviously, he was a fee and a hell of a lot of money on the back end. Now he's been sold on and capped for England, etc., etc. But we'll see how Randell Williams goes there at newly promoted Hull. They have also brought in the brilliantly named Andy Cannon, 25 from Pompey. 43 appearances last season, so that's decent. It's another free agent, but very much a player operating just outside the playoffs in League One. Again, it's a sensible market. If you're Hull and you've just come out of League One, you know all about League One and who the good players are and who's going to be available. So they managed to get Cannon in from Pompey. And the question is, will these two players, Randell Williams and Andy Cannon, be able to step up into the Championship? Will Hull be a place that gives them the opportunity to succeed as well? We wonder how high they'll be up in the table and whether it's a difficult one to step into or not. We will find out about those two players in at Hull, who are doing some early business. And here come a few now for Blackpool. This is Josh Bowler, who has come in. Look at that. 22-year-old moved to Everton for a substantial transfer fee from QPR. And he's, as they say, the fourth player to arrive at Bloomfield Road. He's a winger. And Blackpool did, and I won't profess to know huge amounts about Blackpool, but I did watch all their playoff games, and it was kind of 4-4-2-ish with Yates and Sims up front. So wingers, old school wingers under Neil Critchley may get a look in, and of course you go to 4-2-3-1. You can still use wingers as the inside forwards, can't you, as well? Bit of a hotbed up at Everton. Plenty of players go through there, and a few make it into the Everton team, but a lot of them do get good careers thereafter. Let's see if Bowler is one of those. Obviously, didn't start there, so not necessarily the path, but certainly a good lot of young players generated up at Everton in whichever way. Also, Rhys James, not that one, is going to join on a 3-year deal. It says, and I think he's coming from Doncaster, but it's just, I've missed off the writing at the bottom there on my screenshot. I think I'm right about that. He's been at Doncaster for the past couple of seasons. A versatile left back. Remember Ollie Turton, the right back, has gone out. Luke Garbett and James Husband were down that left-hand side, so you would think Garbett's still going to keep his place there, but some competition there from Rhys James as well. This is Daniel Grimshaw, who's come in from Manchester City. He is a keeper, 23 years old, 2-year deal. Remember though, Chris Maxwell, the Blackpool keeper, kept a ton of clean sheets. So last season, I don't think he's going to be getting the shirt, but he'll go into the system there as well. Definitely some squad building from Blackpool. And this is an interesting one. Unfortunately, I didn't actually have a story on the Blackpool website about Shane Lavery. Just one of these very dull, I can't wait to get started, I'm really excited to be here type interviews. But Shane Lavery, 22 years old, and scored 30 goals for Linfield in Northern Ireland last season. You never know. Some players, the goal doesn't move, as they say, and some players can make that transition across and keep scoring the goals. So that's an interesting one. Hey, look, we may never ever see him on the pitch in a first teamer. Who you just don't know how they're going to go. But 22 years old and certainly knew where the goal is. Good age. Who knows? Flip a coin. Your guess is as good as mine on that one. So that is Transfer Update Episode 2. Looks like plenty in now at Blackpool, Luton and Huddersfield. Remember, there's going to be a cascade at some point. However, we're being very much held up. Look, obviously, I know the window properly is July the 1st, but deals are being done ahead of July the 1st, ready to be announced. We know that much. But we think the cascade, which does ridiculously involve Harry Kane and the Spurs managerial job and Everton and Crystal Palace and does Steve Cooper move? West Brom's open. Fulham could be open very, very soon. So there's a lot delaying the actual manoeuvres. And we think once the managers sort out, and we could get Ismail moving to West Brom and then watch the bids come in for the Barnsley players from West Brom as well. But the likelihood of something like Harry Kane setting off a big chain reaction involving Danny Ings, Adam Armstrong, and then money coming into the Championship and, you know, housing market chain, something like that. That's a bit delayed so far, so we'll see how things keep moving. At the moment, early deals by some sensible clubs, and I'd love to know your thoughts. I've had my say, now you have yours in the comments on any of those deals. We'll wait until there's another 8 to 10 hopefully done. I'll be a little bit less busy now the Euros is getting out of the group stages, and we'll keep the transfer updates going all the way to the window in September, won't it? So yes, many more of these. I think over 20 last time will be coming. Hope you've enjoyed. Get involved in the comments, and it's a big over and out from me. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button to see more videos from this channel. Hit the subscribe button, and to be notified every time we upload. Ring the bell for those notifications to come through on your device. If you really want to support the channel and me as a content creator, I will be eternally grateful if you head over to the merch store and grab something, or support over on Patreon, patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. Thank you for your time. Go and watch another video.